Guys, welcome back to another video. So a lot of you didn't like the AI voiceover in my previous video. Some even said that the whole video was AI generated, which was certainly not true. So here I am with my amazing voice to make you suffer. I'll be highlighting a few points which I couldn't include in my previous video. Before we start the video, I would request you to hit the like button and subscribe button because it would motivate me to produce more content. Halo 4 had many flaws. Although people may argue that it had a good story, I still think that it could have been much better. It wasn't bad, but it had many unnecessary plot points. The story had too many characters and elements to deal with at once. The Covenant faction, the Prometheans, and Cortana's rampancy. It was a cluttered mess. The story primarily should have been about Chiefs and Cortana's journey to Halsey for Cortana's treatment. The plot's focus changed too many times. Also, the introduction of the Prometheans could have been much more mysterious, just like the introduction of the Flood in Halo Combat Evolved. It always felt like something new was about to be introduced from the very beginning of the game, maybe because of a more angular or techy art style, which gave away the sense of the Forerunners too early. There was no build up that could have made the situation more intense. In Halo Combat Evolved, the mission 343 Guilty Spark had a sense of eeriness since the very beginning. Mangled bodies, foggy and greenish atmosphere, the video recording seen through Private Jenkins' memory chip, it all led to a big revelation. Now I know that the two situations are entirely different, but Master Chief getting tricked into awakening the Didact felt more like something straight out of a TV show. Their idea of changing the art style was also completely unnecessary and bad. They made the Covenant look dumb and brute-like, which isn't very Covenantish. Also, their explanation behind why Master Chief's armor changes is very silly. They say that nanobots had upgraded Master Chief's armor while he was in the cryo. It just doesn't make any sense and sounds like a lazy to do away with technique. Why would Master Chief get a new armor in Halo 2 when he could have just used the nanobots to upgrade the Mark V from Halo 1? It just doesn't make sense from Halo's point of view, but it does from a sci-fi point of view. Bungie's trilogy finished what it had started. The idea of a religious alien hegemony that fell by the second game and disbanded by the third, and the idea of the Flood which started in the first game, got a detailed background in the second and was concluded in the third game. It was a circle, just like how a trilogy is supposed to be. The basic idea of a trilogy is concluding a storyline by addressing it in parts: the beginning, the midpoint, and the conclusion. 343 doesn't seem to understand the concept of a trilogy. They had the perfect chance to craft a good trilogy featuring the war between the Covenant faction, the Prometheans, and the humans. Didact and his Prometheans were the perfect villains for the new trilogy. However, they botched it by ending all of it by their second game without giving a proper closure to the Forerunners. They killed Jul Mdama in Halo 5 Guardians, introduced the Guardians, and introduced evil Cortana as well. Then their whole idea of Forerunners ended abruptly as they were nowhere to be seen in Halo Infinite. They also killed off Cortana, who was the primary antagonist in their previous game and also our ancillary since the very first game. She was seen threatening Atriox in a cutscene, destroyed his home planet Doisac, which was also very ridiculous but also could have been executed in a much better way, like the Death Star destroying Scarif for Yavin 4. Then she went to Master Chief, gave him an emotional throwback, and died. This isn't how you're supposed to end the story of such an iconic character. It felt forced, as if they wanted to get rid of her. It was a disrespectful way of finishing a character. Now, the reason for the absence of Prometheans in Halo Infinite could be the Eternal Warden or the death of Cortana, but I find it extremely lazy to just silence things like they never existed. A proper explanation should have been given at least. They also reintroduced the Flood in Halo Wars 2 and will probably have to deal with them in the future games. Basically, everyone who was in Halo 4 or 5 went silent except the Master Chief. They also brought a superior faction called the Banished from a spin-off game, which once again could have worked for another trilogy. And they also introduced another enemy called the Endless at the end of Halo Infinite. I hope that they don't give the same treatment to these new elements just like they had given to Julian Dama's Covenant and the Prometheans. That is, dismissing them from their next game without providing any definite reason. So in a nutshell, nothing feels connected in 343's trilogy. Usually, a trilogy has recurring characters. Infinite had none. Palmer, Lasky, Blue Team, Fireteam Osiris, everyone was absent without a proper explanation. 4 and 5 felt like a duology, and Infinite felt like a fresh start in a new saga. Now, the biggest problem that I find with 343's writing is that they address a lot of things in their books. A lot of the characters from 343's trilogy were featured or mentioned in the book The Shadows of Reach. They also ended Didact in Halo 4, brought him back in Halo Escalation, and then once again killed him off screen in a book. Now, I haven't read The Shadows of Reach or the Halo Escalation, but from what I know about those books, the things that happened in the books should have been reserved for the games, like Blue Team visiting Reach or Didact dying once again. There's concept art of the Oni base on Reach for Halo Infinite. This means that they were considering to include a lot of things in Halo Infinite, but they couldn't because of budget or time constraints. There doesn't seem to be a sense of direction with 343 regarding Halo's story. It's been 14 years since they've been taking care of this IP, but they only managed to pump 3 mainline mediocre games and a lot of books to compensate for their incompetent writing. They have a habit of introducing a lot of things while the current ones haven't even ended. They're like, you didn't like the Prometheans? Not a problem anymore, cause they'll be gone from the next game and we'll slide in an explanation in a book. At the pace which they're releasing games, we all will grow old and die before seeing an end to the Master Chief's story. There's a lot to be covered. Their safest bet at the moment is with a reboot of Halo Combat Evolved. I think it would be a great game if they don't mess with the already established lore and stay faithful to the original source material. Adding cut content, redesigning levels, introducing new enemies, weapons, enhancing the story without altering the lore would be amazing. Maybe it will help them to clear the inconsistencies. It will help them to plan a unified and cohesive story which will be helpful for them. It will also introduce many young and new fans to the franchise. I'm up for it at this point. I think it is a safe bet. A remake like the new Resident Evils or the Dead Space wouldn't hurt the sentiments of the hardcore fans. Alright guys, I hope that you liked the video. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and stay tuned for more content. This was my first voiceover video and it took me a lot of courage to record and use my real voice for a video. I apologize if the narration feels a bit awkward. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.